News at 6 is next.
Tonight, the southeast deadly storms, a 9-year-old girl and rugby union identity among 7 lives lost from Logan to Gympie. Widespread destruction, but the Bayside bears the brunt of a Boxing Day battering. Tom Tate slams the Weather Bureau as the Gold Coast recovery hits top gear. Tributes from around the world after the shock death of popular Australian chef Bill Granger. The Queen's final wishes revealed in a new behind-the-scenes look at the royal family. And Pat Cummins' impossible catch turns the tide to put Australia on top in the Boxing Day test.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Kendall Gilding.
Good evening. The southeast week of destructive storms has now claimed 7 lives. The youngest victim, a 9-year-old girl who was swept away in floodwaters at Rochdale South. 3 people lost their lives in Moreton Bay after winds overturned a boat with 11 people on board.
A teacher, a rugby identity and a 9-year-old girl. These are some of the victims of Boxing Day's deadly storms.
The thoughts of all Queenslanders are with those families who are grieving right now.
For a group of friends, a day on the bay turned to horror as severe weather carved a formidable path. Their boat flipping in 100km/h winds, plunging all 11 people on board into the water south of Green Island.
The conditions were horrific and visibility would have been down to metres.
Emergency crews battled through it to search for the missing. 8 people survived by clinging to the hull, as families were told 3 others weren't so lucky, including school teacher Stephen Tate and former Queensland rugby union player David Logan. His club releasing a statement this afternoon describing the 69-year-old, known by friends as Mario, as one of the finest, most fun-loving, highest integrity people you could ever meet, and we're all so blessed that he was in our lives.
It would have been very difficult to survive in those conditions anywhere.
In Gympie, 2 women died in the Mary River after being caught in a popular storm drain known as the Love Tunnel. Then there's little Mia, who jumped the fence of her home in Rochdale South and never returned. She was swept into a storm drain by surging floodwaters.
It has been a very, very tragic 24 hours due to the weather.
Christmas Day was also tragic. A 59-year-old Gold Coast woman also killed when she was crushed by a tree in another supercell. Police will now prepare 7 separate reports for the coroner. They say it is a tragic reminder of how dangerous and deadly severe weather is and how quickly it can change. The Prime Minister describing the events as such sad news. My heart goes out to the families of those Australians who've lost their lives and to the communities taking care of them.
These storms, you've just got to be so careful.
As heartbroken families question why the end of 2023 has been so cruel. And those tributes are continuing tonight, especially here at Iona College, where Stephen Tate was a teacher for around 20 years. I'm told universally loved, very popular between both staff and students. In an online post, they've described and paid tribute to his compassion, humour and wisdom. He was also a Queensland Rugby Union representative and played at the South Club for around a decade, more than a decade even. No doubt his death and that of David Mario Logan will be rocking the rugby community tonight.
I'm sure it will. Garth Burley reporting live for us at Wynnum West. Last night's storm was the 3rd severe supercell in less than a week. Brisbane's Bayside was in the firing line, the cost of the damage adding to an already astronomical bill.
A Boxing Day beating, wiping out Wynnum and the Bayside.
The windows are shaking.
Uprooting giant trees, ripping off the roof at the local state school.
It was so loud and there was so much rain and wind that you couldn't really see what was going on either.
The 3rd supercell in as many days, its ferocity taking everyone by surprise.
And there was just waves of storm cells, one after the other. And the first few were quite mild, and then it got really, really intense.
These storms have hit very, very highly populated areas.
Wind gusts so strong they lifted and tipped boats at Manly weighing almost 2 tonnes.
That whirly tornado came through and it's just picked up these 2. And then it's gone through to take out the boat club down there. We didn't need this today.
The owner's now left to deal with thousands of dollars in damages.
All boats are expensive to fix.
Nathan and Natel Rogers' car and their neighbour's roof both casualties of fallen branches.
It was pretty loud, very windy, and we were just concerned about all the trees, really.
We usually miss it here though. I feel like this is probably the worst our area's copped it over the years, I would say.
The intensity of the cell sky high, putting on a show for passengers on a flight from Brisbane to Adelaide.
There were 250,000 lightning strikes the day before yesterday, another 150,000 lightning strikes yesterday.
Sian Kelly, her partner and their 7 children are still cleaning up from the Christmas night storm.
Oh my God!
The wind was going crazy, quickly ran inside, and as we closed the door we thought lightning hit the house.
Their Flagstone home destroyed.
I don't even know how to describe it other than it was like a cyclone.
With a major clean-up effort now underway across Brisbane, the City Council is making it free to drop green waste at any dump between now and New Year's Eve.
SES are dealing with nearly 1,000 requests for assistance. That is a very heavy workload for them.
A typical Queensland summer, unpredictable and unrelenting. Anna McGraw, 7 News.
Thousands of homes remain without power tonight as Energex works to assess the extent of the storm damage. Rachel Baxter, what areas are worst affected?
Well, Kendall, the Gold Coast, Logan and Scenic Rim have been hit the hardest. More than 1,000 power lines came down in the severe storms. 123,000 homes lost power. More than 60,000 are still in the dark across the Gold Coast, nearly 8,000 in Logan and almost 14,000 in the Scenic Rim in Brisbane. Energex is working to restore power to almost 2,000 homes, with some of the worst affected areas including Thornside and Wellington Point. Energex says some areas, particularly south of the Gold Coast, are hard to get to, but they are hoping to confirm a time frame by tomorrow. Kendall?
Rachel Baxter there. Well, let's bring in Liam Bland now. Liam, confirmation today the Gold Coast was struck by a tornado.
Kendall, the Weather Bureau says the damage is consistent with that of a tornado, with winds of up to 160 kilometres an hour recorded. The clean-up continues tonight as locals pick up the pieces. Many were caught off guard, including the mayor, who says the lack of warnings is unforgivable.
In the corner of an Oxenford home, a cot covered in rubble.
We had the kids all here and we all huddled downstairs.
The roof gone, blown 2 streets away, landing on top of another house. The Gold Coast hinterland hit hard too. On Tambourine Mountain, a roof collapsed on Oliver while he was asleep.
It dropped on me, so yeah, and those tiles and everything in it.
The Kings sheltered from shattering glass.
You hear the stories, as everybody does. Sounds like a train coming. Well, it sounded like a freight train and a half.
The couple hid.
Just stood in there and pulled it back a little bit, and that was our spot.
Len's chimney was blown into his front yard.
It just got louder, and then I started to hear the windows starting to pop and break.
He was huddling in a room alone as his home blew away. Somehow his car still runs.
There was nothing much to do except stand there and wait to finish and admire the lightning through the hole in the ceiling where the roof used to be.
Across the Gold Coast, 1,400 homes have structural damage. Tens of thousands of people are powerless.
They have described the damage to the power system as unprecedented.
Trees remain across roads, backyards and in pools. Businesses are throwing out food.
Clean up and everything when I chuck in the bin is like more than 15,000.
It's hurting us, it's hurting the community.
The Weather Bureau has confirmed it was a tornado which struck the city on Christmas night.
It is consistent with a tornado damage, and so that's why we have seen very destructive trees down, power lines down, as well as roofs ripped off houses.
Gold Coast Mayor Tom Tate today scathing about the lack of warning and says even he wasn't properly informed.
I think it's unforgivable.
Today, some theme parks reopened. Whitewater World and Wet n Wild remain closed, as well as some parts of Dreamworld, as Queensland's tourism capital counts the rising cost of a brutal summer storm. On the Gold Coast, Liam Bland, 7 News.
Well, now to Jordan Quinn. Jordan, there's a huge clean-up operation happening in the Gold Coast hinterland.
Tamborine Oxenford Road is really the hardest hit here in the hinterland. It's going to take weeks to clear up all these trees which have fallen onto cars, houses and power lines. Now the SES has been called to more than 100 jobs today on Tamborine Mountain alone. Adding to the frustrations, most of the community has been left without power. All but a handful of local shops have closed. Police have also set up a mobile beat to keep residents informed while this community tries to get back on its feet.
Well, to Laura Dymock now, and what are the chances of more storms tonight?
Well, we can't rest easy just yet, Kendall. More could develop this evening, but today brought more settled conditions than were first forecast. There is a severe system in the scenic rim heading east towards the Gold Coast, set to affect suburbs south of Canungra. Small cells also popped up during the day, dropping rain around the far north, Mackay and Lockyer Valley. Tomorrow, we go from one extreme to another. Storms to heat. Much of the state is experiencing above average temperatures. It will be more severe in the far west and in the southeast. I'll tell you how hot it will get a little later. Kendall?
Thank you so much, Laura. Australian celebrity chef Bill Granger has died in a London hospital after a short battle with cancer. The 54-year-old is being remembered for taking the Aussie breakfast classic Avo on toast to the world.
At the packed Sydney cafe that bears Bill Granger's name, they served Bill's food.
Delicious.
With a side of sentiment.
I think everyone's come down to say goodbye. The scrambled eggs, the ricotta hotcakes, the corn fritters. So yeah, he's left a big legacy.
Very big. Avocado on toast, that's his.
Coriander on there. Again, it's just that freshness.
Revolutionised the breakfast game in Australia and Sydney particularly, but then has taken that around the world.
The New York Times and the Washington Post have traced the origins of avocado toast to me. Now, it seems a strange claim to fame, but I'm willing to take it.
It was 1993. Bill Granger's ability to make the ordinary extraordinary carved out a new tourism niche, Australia's food.
Scrambled eggs with such elegance, with white tablecloth and beautiful coffee.
And he taught himself.
And I'd never cooked professionally in a kitchen, so I had to work out what to do.
Bill's in Australia became Bill's worldwide.
Did you know this was a famous restaurant here?
Oh yes, it's very famous in Japan too.
And in the UK, cooking royalty who even schooled the chefs in Buckingham Palace.
And a marshmallow inside. Yeah, gooey, it's very important.
London is where Bill Granger lived and died Christmas Day from cancer. Family broke the news about the king of breakfast. From celebrity chef Matt Preston, he helped shape the image of modern Australian food. From Jamie Oliver, I admired everything he represented. And Nigella Lawson, I'm heartbroken to hear this, so cruel. Not just because of his ingenuity.
A nice twist on the room service favourite.
He was also humble, charming, a family man with a smile that exuded the warmth of a man who loved what he did. Famous for avo and eggs, you bet.
Australian cafe classics, and that's me on a plate.
Thank you so much for being with us today. It's a pleasure. And thank you for introducing the world to Australian cafe culture. Thank you.
Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
An Australian man and his wife have died after their building was reportedly hit by an airstrike south of Lebanon. It's understood 27-year-old Ibrahim Bazi had flown from Sydney to visit his partner Sharouk Hamoud, who had just acquired a visa so they could move to Australia. Lebanese media outlets are reporting a missile was fired at a number of homes in the area by an Israeli warplane. There are fears the Israel-Hamas war could spill into a wider conflict after an Iraqi militant group launched an attack on American troops. The US responded with its own missile assault, described by Iraq's Prime Minister as a hostile act.
The aftermath of a US airstrike, 3 Iraqi military positions targeted. Retaliation for a drone attack on a US airbase in northern Iraq, injuring troops. One of them is critical. La ilaha illallah! Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants claimed responsibility. The US payback, ordered by the President Joe Biden, labelled a clear and hostile act by Iraq's Prime Minister. The National Security Council saying the United States will act at a time and in a manner of our choosing should these attacks continue. And they have been, only escalating since the Hamas invasion. There's been more than 100 attacks on US bases in Iraq and Syria as Houthi rebels continue to cause terror in the Red Sea. The Israeli military releasing footage of what it says was a hostile aerial target shot down from the Israeli Defence Minister. We are in a multi-front war under attack from 7 different theatres: Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen and Iran. The US Defence Chief previously warning of a widening conflict.
Iran is raising tensions by continuing to support terrorist groups and militias.
The World Health Organization says almost all hospitals in Gaza have stopped functioning, senior Hamas officials accusing America of hypocrisy. In the United States, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
There's a neck-and-neck battle playing out off Tasmania as Supermaxis, Law Connect and Comanche race to the finish in the Sydney Hobart. But huge seas and howling winds are proving disastrous for yachts back in the fleet.
Ugly and under pressure. This is what 24 hours of racing looks like. At the halfway mark, 2 maxis in a game of cat and mouse across Bass Strait. Neck and neck, separated by just 4 nautical miles, Law Connect put the foot down.
Oh, it's awesome. We just overtook Comanche and we're winning the race, so that's what we live for.
But defending champion Comanche wasn't going to back down, slipping in front, an arm wrestle spanning hours.
We've been changing leads all night.
The weather also an ever-changing beast. Relentless rain, gusting winds, huge swells. No amount of preparation could prepare sailors for this.
We did rip one of our big sails, so that's a shame, and it may cost us later.
Dreams of a line honours win shattered for Supermaxi Scallywag, wiped out of the race with a broken bowsprit.
It's a shame they're not there. It's a better race if they're there.
And the retirements kept rolling in. Despite a strong start, Georgia Express had to cut ties.
Latest update, we decided to retire because our days are coming loose. The whole rig has come a bit loose.
Rum Rebellion didn't bring home the silverware, but instead a story of survival. The 2-man crew hit by a burst of wind, thrown metres out to sea, Shane Connolly almost didn't make it back. Among the other casualties, Sticky and Currawong, the vessels still out at sea, are giving it all they've got. The race record is now firmly out of reach, with the front runners about 12 hours behind the 2017 finish time. But that won't deter this year's competitors, who will do whatever it takes to get here to Constitution Dock. And when they do, the party will be waiting. No surprise, this is shaping up to be a 2-horse race, with Law Connect and Comanche still going toe-to-toe. All eyes will no doubt be on the live tracking map tonight, with just 92 yachts, including 14 two-handers, still left in the fleet. It is going to be a tightly contested race until the very end. We are expecting to see a winner at some stage tomorrow morning. Who that will be, Kendall, is anyone's guess.
Annie Puller live from Hobart for us. Thank you so much. Queenslanders are gearing up for a bumper year of entertainment. Next, we have your guide to the best events coming in 2024. A popular parking app hacked, what drivers need to know. Making dreams come true, Dolly Parton's gift to a special fan. And the 3 lucky Aussies who've become overnight millionaires. Two brothers have been stabbed at a South Brisbane park. It's believed a group of 10 to 15 people were involved in an altercation with the pair near Little Stanley Street just after 10 p.m. The 18 and 25-year-old were wounded in the upper leg and abdomen. They were both taken to hospital in a stable condition. Police patrols this morning were unable to locate the group involved in the attack. From finals footy to major concerts, 2023 has been jam-packed full of entertainment. The new year is promising to be even bigger, and tonight we have your guide to what's on.
2023 was a year of highs and lows for sporting fans in Brisbane.
Absolutely gutted.
But the new year will start strong with tennis royalty in the southeast.
We know that we're heading into the Brisbane International with headline players such as Naomi Osaka, Andy Murray.
The Lions and Broncos 2023 Grand Finals run are expected to boost ticket sales across the city next year. First bounce for the Lions will be March 8, while the Dolphins will run on field at Suncorp Stadium on March 9. The Broncos not returning until March 14. Another big draw card will be when the NRL calls Brisbane home again. The Magic Round returns on May 17 with Game 3 of Origin at Suncorp on July 17. But it's not just sporting fans that will have a packed calendar. Lovers of the arts will also have plays, musicals and magic shows to start 2024.
What we've tried to do when programming the year is to cater for all age groups.
The stage is almost set at the Lyric Theatre. Chicago will be the first major stage performance of 2024.
It's one of those shows that just brings people in because it's full of enjoyment for all members of the family, but the more adult members of the family.
Then there's Beauty and the Beast, as well as Tina Turner the musical to look forward to. Major musical acts Pink, The Weeknd, Blink-182, Matchbox 20 and Iron Maiden will also play in Brisbane in the new year.
We've got a really bold goal of growing our $750 million calendar to $2 billion by 2032.
2024, just a dress rehearsal for an even bigger show. Lawrence Jeffcoat, 7 News.
Drivers have been assured their personal data is safe after a parking app used in Cairns and on the Gold Coast was hacked. Easy Park has confirmed customers' names, addresses, phone numbers and credit card details have been stolen in Europe and the UK. But the company says its Australian operation is separate and no Queensland customers have been affected. Almost 1 million Americans are in the firing line as a blizzard grounds flights and causes traffic mayhem. Up to 15 centimetres of snow has fallen in the country's northern and central plains, with storms packing 100 km/h winds and freezing rain. There have been several crashes on icy roads. One woman died when she was struck by an out-of-control truck in Kansas. Help at the touch of a button, a mobile feature to let your loved ones know when you're in trouble. All the new ways your phone can keep you safe. Don't miss that story later on 7 News. Are you getting ripped off at the grocery store checkout? Calls grow louder for a supermarket probe. That's next. The Bunnings boom that's reshaping how we entertain at home. A truckie's death-defying escape from a dangling drama. And the Queen's final wishes revealed in a new royal documentary. Support for the Albanese government is falling nationwide as Australians feel the cost of living pinch. There are also growing calls for an independent inquiry into grocery prices, with the big supermarkets under fire from customers.
This Christmas at Coles,
they promised to bring down prices.
At Woolworths, we believe it's the little things that make Christmas special.
But according to the Federal Nationals, the supermarket giants continue to rip off customers.
We need to have big penalties for supermarkets that abuse consumers and abuse the suppliers.
Tonight, renewing calls for an independent inquiry by the consumer watchdog to look at price gouging and profits.
This could have been done before Christmas, and Australians paid more at Christmas because of this Albanese government.
Farmers say the price of beef and lamb has fallen by up to 70% at the farm gate, but that's not being reflected at the checkout.
Consumers aren't getting the value that they should. And as farmers, we're concerned that somebody along that supply chain is pocketing more than what they should.
Today, Coles and Woolies told 7 News their prices have increased due to inflation, particularly energy and transport costs. It's hoped a Senate inquiry next year will get to the bottom of it.
They don't understand and appreciate the cost of living crisis that's out there.
And it seems cost of living is costing Labor support, with 2 opinion polls released today showing voters are turning on the government in 2 battleground states. Primary support has dropped to 33% in Queensland, 34% in WA in the Reserve poll, while News poll shows support from voters aged 35 to 49 has fallen. Labor still leads the coalition though, and promised to do more on cost of living next year. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Firefighters have saved the life of a truck driver left hanging from an overpass when his rig tumbled over the edge. He lost control on a wet road. Rescuers had to secure the 18-wheeler before they could pull him out of the driver's seat. He was taken to hospital but escaped serious injury. A truck loaded with gasoline has toppled going around a bend, producing a fireball inside a tunnel in Colombia. The man behind the wheel suffered serious injuries and was rushed to hospital. Another driver following closely behind had to quickly reverse to escape the flames. A little boy in the US has lived out a real-life version of the movie Home Alone after being placed on the wrong flight. The 6-year-old was whisked more than 260 kilometres away from his family when he was boarded onto a plane to Orlando instead of Fort Myers.
He said, "Mom, where are you? I don't see you. I got out the plane." I said, "What you mean you got out the plane?" He said, "Yes, I'm here. I land. I'm in the airport."
The airline has apologised for the mix-up. The public has been offered a glimpse into the partnership between the King and Queen in a new royal documentary. The behind-the-scenes look at the build-up to the coronation reveals special family moments and the late Queen's final wishes.
One of the most watched moments of 2023.
God save the King!
Behind the scenes, there were nerves.
And I think there was a sense of, I can't believe it, we've made it.
What's described as organised chaos in the rehearsals.
We often remark upon how grateful we are that our schools did a lot of drama, and both of us spent time on stage. It's really good training.
And a family no longer afraid to be human.
They're clearly a very close family, of all the generations.
Part of it all, Queen Camilla's sister.
And I thought back of being 2 years old and watching the Queen's coronation on a tiny black and white television. And there goes this golden coach with my sister in it.
The documentary, broadcast in the UK, focuses on the final preparations for the coronation, but also reveals the late Queen's final conversations before her 2022 death.
I think there was a moment when she felt that it would be more difficult if she died at Balmoral. And I think we did try and dissuade her that that shouldn't be part of the decision-making process. He takes the crown off the coffin. I rather weirdly felt a sense of relief.
Returning to Balmoral, their Majesties are seen at work and at play.
She is his rock. And I can't actually emphasise that enough. She's somebody who is completely loyal.
A royal partnership celebrated. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
A new weapon in fighting crime. Coming up, Apple's high-tech solution to keep users safe. Plus, could loneliness and stress speed up the onset of dementia? Dolly Parton grants her biggest fan an emotional bucket list wish. And hitting the jackpot, the winners of last night's $90 million draw. Tech giant Apple is launching a free safety feature to help users protect themselves and others. The safety app market is booming and fast becoming a new weapon to tackle rising crime.
Phones are typically the first things we reach for in an emergency situation. To help, tech giant Apple has built a free safety feature in its newest upgrade called Check-In.
Check-In is meant for those moments when a loved one tells you to text them when you get there.
The latest in a booming safety apps industry.
Personal security apps are actually definitely picking up in popularity. People do want to feel more secure, and we have the capability right in our pockets.
Victorian man Ross is hoping to police his local streets with an app called Safety. His wife used it after getting caught in the middle of a road rage incident in Mornington.
Check it out. Take it into self. It's actually a safety app and it's designed for people like you.
There was quite a few people that had asked him to leave her alone and stop, and he was getting more and more aggressive.
The panic button will then start taking photos from the front and back camera, record live sound and GPS location.
It led police to an arrest. Officers will be doing extra patrols, particularly in tourist hotspots, but for some extra protection.
Tap the button and press panic, and that's all you have to do.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
A new study suggests loneliness and chronic stress could increase the risk of developing early dementia. Researchers in the UK have been tracking the health data of more than 350,000 men and women, and they found similarities among those who develop the disease early, including alcohol abuse, diabetes and stroke. But other risk factors were more surprising, like social isolation, stress, low vitamin D, and even living with hearing loss. Dolly Parton has helped fulfil a dying fan's wish. When Legrand Gold found out his chemo wasn't working, he compiled a list of things he still wanted to do, which included meeting the country music superstar. So Dolly called him up and serenaded him over the phone.
Hey, LG.
Hey.
Dolly P. Just know that I will always love you.
Oh.
I will always love you.
She told him she was happy to know she'd touched his life in some small way. The DIY industry is booming and Queenslanders can't get enough. So what's behind the surge in people doing up their homes? Well, that story is just ahead on 7 News. And Pat's back again with all today's sport.
Kendall, thank you. Hello everyone. A pitched battle to reach Hobart first, the latest from the Gabba. The skipper turns the Boxing Day test with a menacing late afternoon spell. And toiling in the Brisbane heat, world tennis awaits Naomi Osaka's return.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.
From the heart of Brisbane to the beaches of the Gold and Sunshine Coasts, from Redcliffe and Moreton to Ipswich and Logan, and on the Bayside.
7 News knows what matters.
Your neighbourhood, your stories.
Know Queensland. Know the news. 7 News at 6.
A destructive spell from skipper Pat Cummins has quickly reversed momentum in the Boxing Day test at the MCG. Australia's middle and late order crumbled today, losing 6 for 68. But with Pakistan cruising at 1 for 124, Cummins imposed his will, leaving the tourists 6 for 194 at stumps.
What a difference a day makes. Better weather, better batting.
And runs now, a lovely shot.
From Marnus Labuschagne, from the tourists, better bowling and fielding.
Oh, and taken! Head's on his way.
Travis Head well snared for 17, earning 2 reprieves in 2 balls on review. Mitch Marsh survived and thrived.
Well, you wondered when he might go, and he's gone.
Matching his top score at the MCG, Marnus made 63, rewarding a delighted Amir Jamal. On only 4, Alex Carey well gloved by rival keeper Mohammad Rizwan.
It's brilliantly held. Superb bit of catching.
A head blow for Marsh on his way to 41. Pat Cummins struck in a more dangerous position, the captain copping a couple of throat balls before making 13. Plenty of argument and replays over this claimed catch, ruled not out. The host's first innings total, 318, all 10 Australians caught. 502 wickets and counting. The GOAT Nathan Lyon pumped, but before riding off, the tourists went to the host's heads. Pakistan drove and quickly scampered past 100 as Head brought back the G's Bay 13. Cue Australia's can-do captain. Cummins doing it all himself to snare Shafiq for 62. His double breakthrough, also a solo act.
Got him! Right through him! Cummins has done it again!
Gun batter Babar Azan done between bat and pad.
Yeah, that's the dream ball. That's what you try and bowl most balls, but it's rare that it comes off, so yeah, really happy that one.
No kingpin triggered a collapse. Masood plucked out of the sun by Marsh. No denying a first wicket for Josh Hazlewood. Cummins 3 for 37. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
Now to dissect today's play, here's Theodoropoulos with 7 commentator Greg Blewett.
Well, Bluey, a great day for Australia again. What impressed you today?
I've loved the contest between bat and ball for the first 2 days, but particularly today was Pat Cummins. He completely turned that game around. Pakistan won for 124, brings himself back on, got rid of Shafiq with a sensational caught and bowled, and then ripped one through bat and pad, Babar Azam, top of off stump. 2 quick wickets, and that gave Australia great momentum, and now they're well on top.
What would you look for as a batter now? Australia's going to bat again tomorrow, days 3 and 4. What do you look for as a batsman? Yeah, a little bit of seam movement still, but I think at the MCG, the bowlers will start getting straighter and straighter. So you've got to defend your stumps really well, play nice and straight, but they've got a great lead. So, you would think 250, 300 should be enough tomorrow. That lead 124 now. Australia, do they go as hard as they can and then look to get Pakistan batting again as quickly as possible? I don't think they have to go particularly hard. I think it's going to be a real new ball wicket now. Once that ball does get a little bit older, it should be better for batting. Appreciate you stopping with us, Blue, and we'll catch you on the broadcast tomorrow. Thanks, Leo.
Straight after the news, it's the unbeaten Heat hosting the Thunder at the Gabba. Brisbane elected to bat after winning the flip, a decision they were quickly made rue. Colin Munro gone for a golden duck. That put the pressure back on Nathan McSweeney.
Love the innovation and is able to execute his skills perfectly.
Overnight, the Stars produced the upset of the season, delivering the Sixers' first defeat in a 4-wicket thriller, but it wasn't without controversy.
Looks like she's going to award the catch, but based on the rule and what we've seen of late, I'm not certain about that.
And a horror collapse saw the Scorchers lose 7 wickets for just 5 runs, but the reigning champs held on, the Renegades falling 13 runs short in their chase. New mum Naomi Osaka is ramping up her intense preparation for next week's Brisbane International. It's the former world number one's first tournament since the birth of her daughter Shai in July.
She arrived Christmas morning and was out practicing a few hours later, so no Christmas pudding for her. She was straight into it and has been out practicing every day.
Sydney duo Alexander Vukic and Ricky Hijikata have been awarded wildcards for the men's main draw. Rubbing salt into raw wounds, teen striker Thomas Waddingham's in doubt for tomorrow night's clash with Melbourne City. The 18-year-old was ushered from the field after suffering an arm injury at training. It's not the start interim coach Luciano Trani had hoped for. He's taken the reins after Ross Aloisi's shock exit.
It was unexpected, but I suppose that now it's happened that we have to move on, and that's something that the team and the club is doing everything it can to now.
It's not all gloom for the Raw. Leading goal scorer Jay O'Shea has signed a 2-year extension overnight. As you've heard, there's no chance of a race record. Still, it's shaping to be one of the tightest of finishes to the Sydney-Hobart yacht race. Andrew Comanche holds a narrow lead over Law Connect, 153 nautical miles from the finish line at Constitution Dock. A wet and wild race with 11 retirements so far. The first Super Maxi is likely to cross the finish line tomorrow morning. They can have that all to themselves. Don't forget the Heat tonight. There's a big crowd at the Gabba too.
Yes, very exciting to have them play their first game in Brisbane. Thanks, Paddy. Well, let's check finance, and it was a bumper day for the Aussie share market, which climbed to a 20-month high. Investors were delivered the Santa Claus rally they'd been hoping for after a 2-day pause on trading. All 11 sectors were up. Mining giants saw gains after the price of iron ore surged, and the Aussie dollar jumped to a 5-month high, now buying 68.3 US cents. More and more Queensland families are sprucing up their homes, choosing to entertain rather than head out on the town. The Bunnings boom, the latest trend for cost-savvy households.
Homeowners are dusting off the cobwebs to spend more time at home over the new year.
We've freshened up the exterior.
New data shows 2 in 3 Aussies are cutting back on going out, instead spending whatever cash they have on upgrading their communal spaces.
We've extended out the back, off the back of the kitchen with a new entertaining space. A lot of our friends are in the same position, so it's more barbecues, more dinner parties, and we're really having a great time at home.
Well, cost of living is expensive, very expensive. So that's why we're doing DIY.
It's a surging trend. Bunnings Warehouse recorded an increase in customers doing more DIY projects. 70% of Australians are spending more on bulk cleaning supplies. 67% are upgrading their gardens, and 57% are spending more on their outdoor entertaining areas.
We're seeing a lot in the barbecue space, we're seeing a lot in the outdoor furniture space. Customers, they're really looking for value type options more than they were in previous years.
Barbecues are one of the hottest items, including shades and gazebos, as customers prepare for a hot summer predicted.
Just fixing up our balcony, getting a table for it.
Just a bit of house organisation and tidy up, just, you know, to get things ready for the new year.
Most weekends on the back deck, barbecue on, a few cool drinks in the cooler as well.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
Well, imagine waking up an instant millionaire. Just ahead, the Aussies who took out Oz Lotto's $90 million mega jackpot.
Well, we can't all become instant millionaires, but tomorrow we'll all wake up feeling hot and sweaty. The weather details next.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, paying off your Christmas debt, the top tips to help you get back on top of your bills heading into the new year.
Plus, enjoying the festive season without the hangover, the non-alcoholic drinks that have become household staples.
See you in the morning, Queensland.
3 mystery men are each more than $32 million richer after sharing the Division 1 jackpot in Oz Lotto's mega draw. Unfortunately for Queenslanders, all 3 are from Sydney.
1 in 3 Australians had a ticket, but the chances of actually winning the jackpot were 1 in 62 million. But 3 people defied the odds, and we imagine those phone calls went something like this.
Show me the money! Each took home $32.6 million. They're all sort of middle-aged men. They all have young children.
The 3 lucky people, all from suburban Sydney. The Barella news agency sold one of the winning tickets.
And he can buy another one and try to win another lucky one.
Too much money for me? People come out from everywhere. All the relatives you didn't even know you had.
I'll be doing a lot of fishing. A lot of fishing.
I'd cruise for the rest of my life.
Holden, Monaro.
Kind of anywhere but here, honestly. Somewhere on the beach would be great.
But if we're dreaming big, why not this Italian castle for sale? Or if you really want to reach for the stars, you could afford a one-way ticket to the moon.
While it's easy to get carried away when we're talking about this much money and tempting to buy something like a gold necklace or see how many rings you can fit on your fingers, before you jump the gun, some words of wisdom.
Run, don't walk to a financial planner.
They will come here and happy to serve them.
Because a little bling can't hurt. Amy Clements, 7 News.
Well, luckily, we've all got a winning ticket to tonight's weather forecast. Here's Laura.
Thank you and hello again. The storm threat finally drops back tomorrow. This was the view from our office yesterday afternoon. And as the saying goes, after the storm comes the rainbow, except in our case, after the storms comes the heat wave. First to today, it was all about the humidity in the southeast, making it feel much hotter than it appears here. It got up to 33 in Archerfield, 32 in the city. The Redlands Coast and Coolangatta are the coolest spots with a top of 29. On the satellite picture, you can see shower and storm activity along the upper trough, right on the edge of the Queensland coast. Tomorrow, the trough and a low-pressure system both shift offshore, taking most of the instability with them. Around the country, a shower is again a chance of interrupting play at the MCG tomorrow. A storm is possible in Sydney and Adelaide, showers in Hobart. A shower or storm across the Cape tomorrow. Along the coast, it's looking partly cloudy but fine. A top of 34 in Townsville, hot and sunny for Mount Isa. The threat of storms is easing, but it doesn't completely disappear tomorrow. There's still a slim chance of an isolated storm south of St Lawrence, particularly between Rockhampton and the Wide Bay. In the southeast, warm northwesterly winds plus more sunshine is a recipe for a sweaty summer day. Temperatures will be 4 to 8 degrees above average. Ipswich getting up to 38 and it'll be 33 on both the Gold and Sunshine coasts. Taking a closer look, a top of 36 for Chermside and North Lakes, up to 37 37 in Springfield. In the Bay, northwesterly winds will tend northerly in the middle of the day. The beach will be a good place to cool off tomorrow, but the ocean temperature has dropped to a chilly 21 degrees. There's no relief from the heat overnight, with high humidity really adding to our discomfort. The slim chance of a shower, otherwise sunny and 36. Friday, the mercury stays high, then Saturday cools down with the help of widespread showers and possibly storms as well. Unstable conditions again raise the risk of severe storms. Friday, it gets close to 40 degrees in the west. Yes, you heard that right, before the temperature cools drastically into the weekend. The Gold Coast will be up to 5 degrees above average for the next 2 days. The Sunshine Coast still has a slim chance of a storm tomorrow, fine on Friday. So it's looking like a hot and stormy end to the year, Kendall.
A sticky few days coming up. Thank you, Laura. That's all from us this Wednesday. Thanks so much for your company. We'll have updates throughout the evening. But now from all the team, we hope you have a great night.